Welcome to the LumiCast, your premier gateway to the universe of limitless photo editing. Dive into the galaxy of Luminar software and the dynamic world of AI photo editing. Join us weekly for a burst of creativity and the drive to transform your photos with confidence and skill. Broadcasting directly from Clever Photographer headquarters, it's time to welcome your hosts, Jakub and Holly Linton.
And welcome back to another episode of LumiCast. We are excited to have you over to join us for our talk about photography, photo editing, and of course, our beloved Luminar Neo. Next to me, waiting to talk about winter photography is Holly Linton. Hello, Holly.
Hi, Jacob.
How are you?
I'm fine, and I am cold. It is wintry here in Tennessee. We have some snow on the ground already.
That's perfect for our today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about winter photography, and we're going to be talking about some great ideas on what to capture this wintry season. Now, how are we going to do this? We're going to go through 10 ideas and we're going to alternate on each. And I think first one to start is Holly. What's on your list?
All right. And we should also mention that this is for people who have climates that are very cold or travel to places that are very cold in the wintertime. This will not apply to all those people who fly south for the winter.
Like a bird.
So my first thing would be taking macro shots of frosty leaves when there's that morning frost, or even just the cold is just sitting on those leaves when it's below freezing out. And there's always that one leaf that's dangling on a branch that just doesn't want to drop to the ground. I always get a few shots like that each winter. So that would be my first idea.
Oh, frosty leaves. Yeah, that's a good one. It doesn't necessarily, I guess, have to be on the branch, right? It can be on the floor or on the ground. Yeah, I think you can find lots of that. All right, well, on my list, knowing that I love markets at any time of the year, of course, around Christmas, you get a special push on the atmosphere when it comes to markets, because all over Europe and in UK, we get lots of Christmas markets with lots of mulled wine and Christmas trees and caroling and lots of gingerbreads and all that. So photographing Christmas markets can be lots of fun. And when it comes to capturing it, actually, you can really play around with it and use one of my favorite techniques, which is the 3 storytelling images, where you capture the wide capture of the market, then one little closer capture of the same thing, and then one detail of, for example, a product. So the way it would work in reality would be, let's say, an opening shot of the market, then closer shot of the stall where they're selling the gingerbreads, and then close up of one of the gingerbreads, maybe holding it in a hand or, carrying it or whatever. And I think those 3 images together could work really well when you're showing it to your family or sharing it online. So that is definitely my favorite way to do this. And this can also work really well with shop signs when they're already decorated with lights and Christmas trees and different stickers, or even just a decoration on the streets. I mean, depending on the town, but especially here in the south of England, they already started to put all the lights out and the different kind of pine decoration, and it's all starting to look very, very beautiful.
Well, that sounds beautiful where you live, and I love taking pictures of decorations and inside shop windows. It's a lot of fun. So that sounds perfect.
Oh, thank you.
All right. On to my next one would be talking about lights. Maybe do some portraits during the winter, especially if you're trapped inside. It's a good chance to get out that flash that you haven't used and, brush up on those skills, or maybe do some candlelight portraits, or even by the fireside, have your subject sitting by the cozy fireside setup. So I think that's a good opportunity in the winter to do some indoor portraits.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Definitely. I agree. And I think in general, lots of people keep the fairy lights indoors even when the Christmas is over. And they can also create really nice depth, or add depth. They can also be used as that kind of bokeh effect behind people. So I think you can be really creative with portrait photography at this time of the year, and really dipped into that low light portrait photography, like you're mentioning, maybe you're really playing around with just one soft source of light, which could be even fireplace or candles or, any light, and really play around with that. I think that can work really well. It can be beautiful, and also, it adds a little bit of a storytelling, I think. So great idea.
If you're traveling maybe to a lodge or a log cabin, picturing sitting out by the fire pit, pictures like that.
Yeah, or using a simple window, thinking, in the winter, often you get a really overcast sky, so the light is soft anyway. So you can kind of position the person and just use the window light as one source of light. So great idea. Love that.
What's your next one?
It's time for me then. So let's talk about snowy forests or parks in that case. Actually, that works all well together. Are we talking about foliage covered in snow? Now, depending where you live, you may get a little bit of snow or you may get huge amount of snow. Either way, I think that the snow can be a really great subject when covering forests and parks. You can go again really wide and capture the beautiful area like a path or maybe the grass. Or you can go detailed, almost to degree of your frosty leaf close-ups. You can just photograph branches with a little bit of snow on them, or you can photograph little trees which maybe still have some red berries popping through the snow. It can be really, really creative. And again, you can, of course, use the strategy of the storytelling where you can capture one wide image of the forest and one closer and one really detailed capture. I think that works really well for this type of photography as well. So snowy forests, if you have lots of snow, can be lots of fun. One tip here, when it comes to heavy snow, generally it works the best when it's very fresh and when there is not too many footsteps and it's all clean. So if you're going to do that, unless you have a heavy snowstorm, try to go out early morning because that's when the paths are still clean and covered. And even in a forest, it just looks nicer. It looks much more aesthetic. So that's what I would do if I would go photograph snowy forests. What do you think?
Well, I bet that you're going to use the mystical tool when you do those edits, aren't you?
Yes.
For the forests.
Actually, you're right. Talking about editing, lots of snow isn't necessarily always simple to edit because obviously you have this peak of the highlights and whites. And also the white balance can be a little bit tricky because the snow can go on the blue side. So you really need to find the right white balance to get the best out of it. So yeah. It's a lot of fun, but you just need to approach it a little bit differently.
It's beautiful just to walk through fresh fallen snow. It's kind of magical. So it'll be fun to take those pictures.
Definitely.
All right, next on my list would be anything icy. So looking for icy textures where maybe there's a frozen puddle or maybe it's cracked and it has all sorts of different leading lines or just different patterns and textures in it. And another thing I love to do is take pictures of icicles. So we had a really bad gutter that once it started melting, it leaked, like it had these giant 3-foot or 4-foot icicles hanging on them. And then when they start dripping, it's fun to try to take pictures of those icicles. So I'd say look for anything that's super icy. Even, of course, snowmen would be fun to take pictures of. And that would be a great idea, I think. Easy to find.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. Yeah. I think there is lots of beautiful textures in the winter, which are more unusual, I guess. Yeah. It could be, like you say, just ice or cracked ice or even the texture on the frosty leaves. When you go really close up to it, can really be very interesting. And you can even use it for editing later, maybe with blend modes and kind of blend it together with your normal photos. So yeah, textures in the winter can be really exciting. It just made me think about, how some people have this really cool lenses when they are able to, it's like a macro lens, when you're able to zoom in almost to the size of a snowflake. That is also very beautiful. Yeah,
I don't have any pictures of snowflakes. I've seen them before and it's like, wow, that's amazing. The detail of that tiny little snowflake. Maybe I'll add that to my list of things to try. That long list that I have.
I was just thinking about the moon. We need to talk about winter moon, I guess. Anyway, folks, that's the first 5 tips or ideas on what to photograph this winter. We're going to take a very, very short break, but don't go anywhere because we're going to be back with 5 more.
If you're listening to the LumiCast podcast, then we share something in common. We love editing photos, and we love Luminar. It's almost breathtaking what this amazing tech can do for you. On our website, you'll find countless different things to help you be more creative than you ever thought imaginable. From our photo manipulation masterclass to our power bundle with 986 elements, our essential preset bundle, editing software and extensions to our tutorials. Harness the power at the website at www.cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Again, that's cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Now, back to LumiCast.
And we are back with more tips on winter photography. We talk about frosty leaf close-ups, Christmas markets, candlelight portraits, snowy forest, and ice textures up till now. And we're moving on the next one, which will be me. What about snowfall motion blur? That can be also really, really creative. Now we talk about some practical captures like the markets or maybe like the candlelight portraits. This one is more creative in a way. Now, again, it can be done multiple different ways, but for example, it's coming to a blue hour and it's heavily smoking. It's heavily snowing outside. So imagine you go somewhere where you just find like one single house or hut or anything that has a little bit of light in it. You point your camera at that, you use that as your main subject, and then you let the shutter speed go a little bit longer, which will happen naturally anyway because it's getting darker with the blue hour. And as the snow is falling, it's going to create really nice streaks around. So that can be really beautiful. And if you want, what you can do after you capture this long exposure of the snow, you can capture one more capture with quick shutter. So you basically freeze the snow and then you can blend them together in the post-processing. So what you do is you try to remove a little bit of the snow from the house so it keeps the focus on, and you use the long exposure more around. That can be lots of fun. And you can do the same with portraits. So you have just the person standing very still and you just slow the exposure and have the snow around, having this little bit of a softness that can be really nice too. Or you can capture that anywhere, again, in a forest or city or landscape or anything like that. So if you're more on a creative side and want to try something else, go for the snow motion blur, because you really just need a few seconds. Doesn't need to be crazy long, just a few seconds. And it really adds a special feel to the photos. Have you ever done that, Holly? Have you tried?
No. I'll add that to my list. Now, do I have to put a winter coat on my camera when I go out and do that?
Well, you will need a tripod to start with, I guess, for this one.
Darn. No, I have a covered porch here, so perhaps that'll be my first try. I'll stay under the covered porch. All right. My next idea would be maybe take pictures of some beverages like your hot drinks, your hot cocoa, or maybe during your portrait by the fireside, have them drinking their coffee or tea, or any kind of indoor setup where, like a still life setup with, sometimes people might give you a coffee mug for the holidays that in like a little gift wrap has chocolate, hot chocolate and marshmallows and little candies and stuff in it. So maybe use those before you open it all up, take some pictures of it first. Or just lay it out nicely and take some pictures like that. And we did talk about steam in your shots in a different episode. So it's possible you may have to use a steam overlay if you can't get that steam showing in your picture. That's what I think. Candy cane, put like a little plate of candy canes and just make a nice little scene for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. Yeah. I'm glad that it's not just here in UK where you get these like a gift sets with cup and hot chocolate and something. And sometimes it feels like maybe I'm already like the third person who received the same gift.
Yes.
It just keeps traveling through the family and nobody opens it and use it actually.
Yeah. So be careful, because check the expiration date on it. If you are going to drink it, it could be re-gifted from 3 years ago.
Exactly. But actually, to be honest, I am a big fan of Christmas mugs, festive mugs or holiday mugs. And I collect them. So I maybe have like 15 different mugs, some of them in the shape of Grinch and Santa Claus and different things. So usually, I guess everybody, lots of girls change their closet or clothes between winter and summer.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I change the mags, so
well,
all of them go away and the Christmas comes.
You just gave another idea then, is to take pictures of your mugs. Just do shots of all your cups and your collection.
Exactly. You can be very creative with that. So moving on from hot drinks, steam shots into my footstep in fresh snow. Now, earlier I was talking about snowy forests and how you try to avoid the footsteps because you want to have a really nice fresh scene. But when it's controlled, when maybe actually you can make the footstep by yourself, that can be quite cool. It can work really, really well. Now it can work well as a foreground element, like opening into the scene. So imagine you're having forest path, which is all covered by snow, and you just maybe make 3-4 steps in front of you, and then you kind of back off, and you use the steps as a foreground, as an opening, as a part of storytelling. Or you can, of course, just focus on the footstep. You can photograph that and focus on the texture in it, if it's like a nice crisp snow. So you can really be very creative with it. I guess it reminds me a project I worked on about 5 years ago when we did something similar on the beach. You can do the same thing, like you have a structure and then you do footstep in the sand, and it kind of creates the leading line towards the structure. So it's a similar idea, just with the snow, I think. And it can be really creative and cool.
Great. And you could also do a snow angel.
I was just about to say that.
Oh, okay. You would want someone else to do it. You probably shouldn't lay down with your camera and start making snow angel, like waving your arms around in the snow with your camera. So
difficult to explain to the insurance company, that.
Yes. And then you might have to get on a little step ladder to get a good picture of the snow angel.
Or from a drone, I guess.
So you need to be up a little high. Or your drone, yeah.
But that can be also fun, yeah. Okay, well, what's next on yours?
Okay, next on mine, I think it's my last one, would be winter birds. Last year was our first winter here in Tennessee, and there were so many cardinals out there, which, as you probably are familiar with the term, when cardinals appear, angels are near. And there's that, you always think that the spirit of someone you've lost is around you, watching over you. And in the winter, I do find that's kind of a magical feeling. So I don't know what other birds there are in the winter that stick around. Why do they not fly south? There's just some that don't want to, maybe they're like me, they don't like to travel. So you could still use that wildlife lens in the wintertime and just look for the birds that are still, hanging in there, and enjoy taking pictures of them.
I don't know how about in Tennessee, but here you can find very rare pigeons. And seagulls as well. They don't go anywhere because people feed them here. So, of course, why would they go anywhere, isn't it? But neither one of them is rare. And I think I still see ravens throughout the winter as well. You can see them around. So, yeah, but for sure, I guess we talk about birds, but you could talk about any wildlife which is still around.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
true.
You could be capturing, it doesn't need to be just birds.
Right, deer and bear and, well, no, bears will be hibernating, won't they? They probably won't be out.
Depend on the bear, I guess, yeah.
But the deer and maybe the squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels, yeah.
I don't see if my raccoon comes back. And maybe, I'll still have horses and donkeys and farm animals.
Oh, there you go.
That still stay outside.
I think horses and snow would be really beautiful, actually. That would be a great idea. So there is much more to do than just the birds necessarily, but definitely animals in winter can be really cool. Again, if it could be in a connection with the winter snowy landscape, that could be even more magical. So yeah, cool. Yeah. Well done. All right, well, let's finish the list with winter sport action. Now, when we were preparing the list, we were trying to figure out if it's sledging or
sledding.
Sledding. Well done, Holly. Thank you for that. So anyway, we're talking about winter sports. Of course, there is a lot happening depending where you live, but ice hockey is one of them, or people just skiing around, or just people playing like with the snowballs and building snowmen. It's still a sport and activity, which can be really nice. Now, I guess one tricky bit on the winter captures like this is the light that can be really harsh because the snow generally works as a massive reflector and, everything can look or feel a little bit overexposed. So you need to work with it quite carefully, but it can be a lot of fun. Ice skating is another good one. If you maybe combine it with a kind of late evening or blue hour captures, because we have a lot of ice skating rinks around. And when you go later, you can also ended up going there when there's maybe just a couple of people. And by just capturing 1 or 2 person, it can really be quite magical. So you can also work with that. So yes, that's winter sport action. What about you? Do you do any winter sports in the winter, Holly?
It's called hibernating, just like the bears. Winter sports. Well, I'll walk. I will definitely walk if it's not icy. Maybe I'll try hiking through the mountains. I might have to get myself some walking sticks from Santa Claus, but no. And I haven't ice skated in years. I would never put ice skates on at this point in my life. It's just too dangerous.
I agree on that. I went ice skating 3 years ago and I was hurting for about 3 weeks after. So I'm also not repeating that mistake. Anyway, before we wrap up, let's go through our ideas, starting with Holly. What you got?
All right. I had frosty leaves, candlelight portraits, ice textures, hot beverages, and the winter wildlife.
Good ones. If you would try one, which one would you try this season?
Maybe the hot drinks, because I don't have enough pictures like that. It would allow for creativity.
We talked about it a little bit already with the autumn ideas, isn't it? I think it's really something that can work really well, so worth to try. And coming to my list, well, we talk about Christmas markets, snowy forests, snow all motion blur, and footstep in a fresh snow, and we finish it with ice skating or the winter sport action. And if I would try one this year, I'm really keen to try the snowfall motion blur, but for that, you need a lot of snow. So we'll see. I will definitely go on some Christmas markets. So I will do some of that.
You could buy a snow machine if you have to.
Just very quickly on a quick kind of fun note, I have worked on a movie production, which was kind of low cost idea, and that they wanted snow, and the producer thought, well, we're just going to get the snow machine. So he ordered a snow machine on Amazon, which kind of, when it came, the amount of snow was, in half an hour, you would get about like a handful. Really wasn't going to create like a Christmassy feel. So anyway, that never really happened at the end. So
that's funny.
Okay. On that note, folks, thank you very much for joining us again. I hope you're going to have a great weekend. And already we can't wait to be with you again next Friday. Holly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
And see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Now, there's only 3 things left to do. Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Visit our website at cleverphotographer.com/LumiCast to see what we have in store next. And stay creative and keep editing your photos no matter what anyone says.